All right, so welcome back to Commercial Cash Flow System. What we're going to do now, guys, we're going to jump right into what I call the common four. Okay. Now, income-producing properties produce cash flow, and you have to remember this. So you guys are going to be taking lots of notes here. For those of you listening to the DVDs here and watching the DVDs, listening to the CDs, you have the benefit. It's already in your book there. Now, in reality, we're not buying the building. We're buying the income stream, which is the cash flow. I want you guys to write that down. We're not buying the building as much as buying the income stream. You're going to hear me say that over and over. And the reason being, guys, is we're not fixated on these big million-dollar numbers. Remember, we're fixated on the cash flow. That's what it's all about, the cash flow. So because we're focused on the cash flow, we're buying the income stream of what cash flow is the building's kicking off. Okay? Now here's four things, the common four. Number one is cash flow. Number two is appreciation. Remember, we don't buy on appreciation, but I want to define appreciation so we got a handle on how powerful appreciation is, because in my eyes, it's the second best thing to cash flow. Next is loan amortization. During our little financing session when we had some people come in, I know that loan amortization came up. I want to define that as well in our next talk. And also tax shelter. Now, I do have a special guest coming in, and we're going to define all the different avenues of tax shelter in detail. And I want to tell you now, always hire the best of the best, and that's who's coming in. It's my guy. It's my guy's coming in for you, just like my last guy. Did you guys like the last guy? Yeah. Wait till you guys meet Al, okay? Now, if you understand each of the common four in detail and how to calculate them with an easy formula, it will help to ensure a profitable investment, okay? All right. So now we're starting off on page 24 here, folks. Page 24. Remember, it's the common four. All right, this is the cash flow system, okay? This is what we're talking about here. I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, understand what cash flow is. That's the income stream that's being kicked off. If you take in more money than goes out, then you have something called a positive cash flow. You guys have heard the term over and over, I'm sure, positive cash flow. That's a great thing, all right? And if more money goes out than came in, then you have something called negative cash flow, okay? That's not such a great thing. And if you have negative cash flow, then you're going to need to have some capital in place to go ahead and take care of that negative cash flow that you have coming in. All right. So with that said, sometimes you'll see a term commonly used as something called net spendable cash, okay? Net spendable cash. This means all the cash you have left over after you pay your income taxes on the property's earnings. After you pay the income tax on the property's earnings. All right? If a real estate investment has positive cash flow, the money left over after the bills are paid out, that's spendable cash that you can keep and do with as you please. Okay? That's the spendable cash. But remember, what we want to do, instead of equity stripping, okay, and spending capital, we want to keep that capital in place for reserves. Remember, we're taking properties down, not in our personal name, but in an LLC. And we're going to be talking about structuring later. But food for thought is this, guys. If we're taking projects down in an LLC, okay, then what we want to do is make sure that we have cash in that LLC to go ahead and take care of any foreseen issues. So you keep that cash in there, all right? Now here, make a note. Be careful not to spend more than what's coming in. Because if you do, what's going to happen is you're going to experience negative cash flow. If this happens, to offset the difference, you have to infuse the property with outside funds. Now, we just talked to a hard money lender, and we know the rule of hard money. You can still go ahead and pull in a hard money lender so long as you have cash flow coming in, but you don't want to have to go ahead and get a loan on your property and encumber debt on your property with a high interest note. There's no need to. Just watch your spending, okay? You can always pull in private money, which is sometimes going to be cheaper, and sometimes private money doesn't cost you anything but equity. So you can give a percentage of your project. And not always, get this guys, not always will they require cash flow. So sometimes you can just give them an equity stake in the project and they won't even mention cash flow. So you still keep the cash flow, okay? You still get that cash flow. You infuse it with money in exchange for equity. It's the same thing as equity stripping. except now you've placed private money in place in exchange for a portion of percentage of the property. If you're looking at a property and there's a length of time it will experience negative cash flow, you better think long and hard before you invest. And the reason being is simple. We don't want to incur somebody else's headache. We don't need somebody else's headache to sit there and have to do debt service, okay? Now, here's your example. If you have negative cash flow for the first 12 months, remember we always talk in 12 months. We're always talking in usually annual, which is yearly, when we do projections and things of that nature, if you haven't caught on to that, okay? Now, if you have negative cash flow for the first 12 months, you must factor in your expenses such as debt service. It's not music to your ears when I mention debt service, but it is something that you need to factor in, okay? Regardless of the property does not have enough cash to pay its bills, whether it's a private lender or someone's going to have to cover the deficiency, meaning the negative. Somebody's going to have to do it. Now, if you do deals with me, guys, you're not going to have to worry about that portion of the equation because, again, I provide the actual resources. I bring in the capital resources. And it's not just Derek. It's a slew of others in a special way that we bring in the professionals, our attorneys that go ahead and draft these agreements and make it all happen. There's a certain way we do it. But just because the property might have negative cash flow doesn't necessarily mean it's not a deal worth pursuing, okay? As long as we can get it cash flowing with speed and ease. It's all about speed and ease, guys. You want to get it cash flowing. So here's the cash flow formula. We're going to cover formulas, all right? The formula for this one is simple. Cash in minus cash out equals cash flow. I can't make it any simpler than that. Believe me, I can go ahead and put numbers in here and make it very complicated for you. I truly can. But that's not what we're here to do. That's not what I want to do is make things complicated, guys. I want to make it easy for you. You guys appreciate that, don't you? I'm sure people on the other side here that are watching these DVDs and listening to these audios, they really appreciate it. Because when I'm simplifying these formulas for you, so you get it, you get the formulas, you get the information, and we process that information into action, it's where it's at to get the deals done. So here's the formula. Cash in minus cash out equals cash flow. Now we're going to talk about cash inflows and cash outflows, so the big picture will come together in just a moment. But cash in minus cash flow, cash in minus cash out equals cash flow. Let's look into a real life example that are very common of cash flowing property. Let's say you own a 10-unit apartment complex, okay? Like Kevin, who came up, which we're going to talk about his deal in a little bit here. But let's just go ahead and say that you have a 10-unit apartment complex, all right? Actually, we're going to go ahead and, Lisa, can you call Kevin for me? I know he's talking with a student outside on a deal. Can you grab him? This is Kevin, and what Kevin's basically saying in a nutshell here, guys, is that he's attended this live training. It was back in November, and he moved from buying residential to exclusively finding and purchasing commercial properties. Within 2 weeks, he was writing letters of intent. Is that taking action? Yes. 2 weeks, guys. That's 14 days. That's 14 days. 2 weeks. The guy's out there taking action, okay? Now, what he did was he went ahead and put under contract and closed on a deal in 4 weeks, all right? 4 weeks. So very, very powerful. It was a 10-unit, and he has about 30% equity. He put an additional couple other projects under contract, and now he's my partner on some other stuff. But this is Kevin, and I want to go ahead and bring Kevin up in just one quick moment. But Kevin went out there, he took action and made it happen. So I want to put his deal into perspective for you guys so everybody understands that anybody can do the business and how Kevin was focusing just on the cash flow. He wasn't focusing on what the building looks like, if he was going to be, if it's up to par for him to move into the building. He didn't care about any of that. He only cared about the cash flow, all right? So let's just use this as an example here because this was some of the nuts and bolts on his deal. 10-unit apartment complex, purchase $315, future value over $1 million. I think the numbers went up. And also cash flow, it was cash flowing at $2,100. I think it's up from there as well. I'll let Kevin tell you about that. And he structured the terms with seller financing. Come on up, Kevin, real quick. Let's give Kevin a round of applause real quick. All right. And for those of you who know Kevin, Kevin is now acquisition manager because we've closed on a deal together. That's one of my prerequisites to come in. That's just one of them. We'll talk about that later. Come on up, Kev. How you doing, buddy? All right. Good. So this is the building. This is it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
That's what I bought.
That's when he bought it. Okay. Now I want to point something out to you guys because this is so very important. Real quick. Okay. Look down here. Can you guys see what this is down here? Do I need to dim the lights a little bit? What is that down there? Can you guys see it? A kid's toy, somebody said. Yeah, you're right. That's a kid's toy. Guys, there's a need for apartments. People, you don't have to have it up to speed or up to par for you to live in. People will move into these type of apartments and even less desirable looking than some of these, but there's nothing wrong with this. It's walls. You got a kitchen, you got bathroom, you got rooms. What did the inside of this thing look like?
It was completely trashed. Everything was rotting for about 9 to 12 months before I got in. So.
Okay, and how many out of the 10 units, how many were vacant when you took it over?
100% vacant, except for people that were moved in illegally. So,
people that moved in illegally. So you got squatters, okay? Now, it's very easy to get rid of squatters. It's out of the premise of this talk. But I guess having a cousin named Guido from Jersey helps, right? But you can see this. So when you went in on this thing, I see the pictures of it. And most people that look at a building like this being vacant, you would probably kind of shun away from a little bit, saying, well, I don't know, taking a look at it. And here's the back of it. And did they ever end up fixing this area here, Kevin?
Yeah, the city, it's not paved, but the city came in and filled in the dirt a little bit where we asked them to.
Okay, so. Cool. And I want you to explain in detail about this project in a moment, if you would, Kevin. I just want to show them a few last pictures. And this was the before picture. Now, there's some clarity. Maybe some of you have seen this before in some of my slides, maybe not. But I just want to clarify something here. When we're talking about residential versus commercial, we got behind these bushes, there's actually windows on this 10 unit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Guys, there's 10 windows, 10 beds, 10 bodies, 10 checks. Would you rather have 1 check in residential or 10 checks in commercial? That's a no-brainer, right? It's all about the cash flow. And here's the after pictures. What a job he did, right? Before, after. Doesn't that look great? Okay, so go ahead and tell them a little bit about this project. And if you don't mind, can I go ahead and grill you a little bit, ask you the questions, you answer, we go back and forth. Is that cool?
Go for it, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and then maybe we'll open up for a few questions. Let me just grill them once, because maybe by that I'll get your question answered. Okay, so first thing, I look at this project and I say, how much did you pay for it?
$315,000.
$315,000. Guys, you got to understand something. The price of homes, residential homes, not just here in California where we're located now, because the homes here are like phone numbers. You know what I mean? They really are. They're ridiculous, regardless of what the market's doing. And even across the nation, places like Dallas, places like, West Palm Beach, Miami, Manhattan, New York, need I say more? The price of homes out there and the type of income that you get on these homes is not a lot of income. You actually own residential and lease it out, do you, or do you not?
Yeah, that's correct, I do.
What do you pull in monthly on your residential unit?
I'm negative on the townhome that we've owned for 7 years.
Negative on the townhome he's owned for 7 years. Okay.
And one other property I have is cash flowing, but we just converted it to commercial level. It's 5, and Texas is commercial, so that one's actually cash flowing. Okay,
so that one's in Texas, and you added another room to it or what have you.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you paid $315,000 for it. How'd you find it? I think that's what you guys want to know, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, this is a part of an investor package. So I was working with an investor up in the Seattle area, and he had been working with a real estate investment agent a real estate agent down in Texas, and she was residential only. She sent him a real estate package of vacation homes and local housing, and this was stuffed in there as just an extra. And all of the real estate investors in the Seattle area just flew past it. But actually, I had just come out of Terry's class, and I looked at it and ran the numbers, and it was a no-brainer. It was listed for $360 from the bank as a foreclosure, and the bank was a funding group out of Florida. And they had never seen the property. They hadn't touched the property. The previous owner just foreclosed on it because they bought it and didn't do a great job with it. Obviously, it was sort of rotting away. Okay. When I walked in, the rugs were actually mushy with moisture.
Ooh, love mushy rugs, guys. You know how you get rid of mushy rugs? You write a check. That's the way it's done. So don't be hung up on mold, or don't be hung up on rehab. Don't be hung up on mushy rugs or any of that stuff. Now, Kevin didn't tell me that he ever went and looked at the property, so this is new news to me. All right, I didn't know he went there, but that's fine. Look, guys, you don't have to go there. You can also send people to go look at the property as well. It's not a problem. But, this is your first deal, probably excited, so you went out there and nailed it. So back to how he found it. He said it was located in a package. It was an REO. REO is real estate owned. So what happened, this thing went back to the bank, right?
Yeah.
And it was intermingled with a bunch of residential properties.
Yeah.
Now, when you guys get out of here, first thing you're going to probably run into is some REO packages. That's what they're called. Write that down, REO packages. Now, people are going to be sending REO packages to you regardless of what the market's doing. Real estate is always owned by the bank. They always take a certain amount of properties back, even in a hot market. And when you get this package, there's going to be something called a burnout rate. And burnout rate means that basically it's a bucket of stuff. You take the bucket, you put it on the table, and you start going through the bucket. And that's what you did, right? And you uncovered this.
Yeah, that's correct.
Now, you didn't buy the rest of the stuff that was in the bucket. You only purchased this.
Right, that's correct.
Okay,
yeah.
So he cherry-picked out of the REO. Is that sweet? Of course. And everybody else that looked at it probably looked at it as a liability, not as an opportunity to turn it over to an asset. See how powerful that is? Okay, so we covered how to find it. Do we have any questions on finding? We have one question.
No, that's a really good question. There's an administration building on this side, and there's a brand new high school. You can't see it here on the back. It's Ball High School in Galveston, and it's in really good shape. And as these are 3-bedroom units, it's great for a family or families moving in near a high school. So.
Okay, and something important, guys, that you need to jot down. When we're looking at property, we're looking at the mix. That's what it's called, the mix. That's what the mix is of the building. What is the mix? What is it? Is it 2 bedrooms and 1 bedrooms? Is it 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and 3 bedrooms? What's the mix? What's the mix on this?
It's all 3 bedrooms.
Guys, that's great. It's all 3 bedrooms. 3 bedroom, 1 bath, or 3 bedroom, 2 bath?
3 bedroom, 1 bath.
3 bedroom, 1 bath. All right. Okay.
Actually, they're all 3 bedrooms and metered for all 3 individually, which is great also.
Let me mention something on that too. Metered is very important, and that's something that we look at. Obviously, if it's going to be metered, then we can go ahead and put the cost of all that for those utilities onto the actual seller. That's very important to find out if something is individually metered. That's actually one of the questions on your property information sheets that you'll see in your acquisition criteria or in the back of this resource book. Okay? All right. Okay, so then that's how you found it. We covered that. And I want to talk about financing for a sec, because I look at these before pictures and these after pictures, and I see the before and I see the after. And you know my rule, we're looking to get into these properties at 30 to 50% of appraised value with none of your own money or credit, right? So let's talk about financing. How'd you get the dough to do this? What happened?
Okay, so I was working with a private money lender. This is somebody that was actually loaning money for residential deals. So they had been working in the residential market for a while and doing foreclosure purchases. And they understood the numbers there, but they also understood that it was speculative and that it was getting harder and harder. And they were looking at actually recovering some of the properties from their investors, which they didn't want to do. So I was able to just take the data sheet and show that, unlike residential, these are businesses, and they actually have an actual value that is stabilized by their performance, and go to the hard money lender and show what it was actually worth, or the private money lender, show them what it was worth and what it could be worth. And just the confidence he had in me being able to talk about the specifics and the numbers and show him that, you know, how it would be appraised and what its future value was and how much equity was built into it, he was on board. So
basically you showed him your action plan from A to Z, your exit strategy, and showed him what you needed to do to get it done.
Yeah, that's correct. And he has a lot of money at Microsoft right now, which got cut in half in the last year. So he's when's the next deal coming along, Kevin? I want to give you more money. So.
Okay, and I'm sure you, being one of my acquisition managers, we probably could fulfill that, considering that we moved together as a team. So that's there. Now, you did get some cash back at closing, correct?
Yeah, he actually went ahead and gave me 120% of the purchase price so that I could do the rehab without going out of pocket. And
okay. Meet Kevin. By the way, this Kevin is the same Kevin right there. Okay, you got a hat on there. Okay,
look
cool.
like that tonight.
All right. So do we have any additional quick questions for Kevin? Okay, let me go ahead and get to your question first, real quick. Okay. I have to repeat your question, so just...
Okay, you projected the value that it would be $1 million. Now it's 1 year later. Have you actually reached that goal?
He asked it, you projected your future value to be $1 million. Have you reached that goal? Now, you guys saw the numbers on there. Can we rehash the numbers real quick? The purchase price was the purchase price. That was $315. What kind of cash flow are we at, and what's your new projected value?
Right. Well, the fact that it's 10 units makes it real easy to do the math. So you multiply everything by 10, they're all the same exact type of unit. So it was real easy as an intro. I projected about $750 a month in rent for these for lower income or stabilized families. When I started to fill it up, after I did the initial rehab, it actually took me a little while to get anything in there. But real quickly, 750 times 10 is $7,500 a month. So I don't have the sheet in front of me, but basically you're looking at about 80-something thousand a year, and then the expenses were going to come out to about 35% of it. Those are real rough numbers. So that value would have put it in the 600-ish range, 650-ish range. When I put in the first tenants, I ran a special, and I actually ended up putting in the tenants at 790, so I was already above value. And these were tenants that had 2-bedroom vouchers, not 3-bedroom vouchers. So they were living in the lap of luxury. So I went to 3-bedroom vouchers, and those vouchers, most of the people there were families, and they wanted washer and dryers. So I said, I will give it to you for $850 without washer and dryers, or if you pay me $100 a month, I'll go ahead and run the electricity and water for it. So I was getting $950 for the last 4 bedrooms. So went from a projection of $750 to $950. And now your question is, a year later, I actually got hit by a storm, which is bad, and Hurricane Ike came in and hit the property. But on the recovery of the storm, housing is so in demand right now. 3-bedroom vouchers are $1,350 per unit, and that's what they're filling up for right now.
So guys, I'll tell you right now, don't worry about any hurricanes or Hurricane Ike or Hurricane whoever. That's why we have insurance, okay? That's what insurance is for. And this is a business. It's operated as a business. And because it's operated as a business, we understand the projection. And now that it's up to speed, what's the future value?
The future value using the 1% rule is basically $1.3 million, and that's what I would start at negotiations.
Let's give Kevin a round.